you're reading or anything like that.
Quick question.
Sure.
How do you get it on Facebook?
Well, it's hard while you're doing it from here, but I wouldn't recommend going from Zoom to Facebook here. But
Okay.
you know, you can log on. You can. Do you have an account, a Facebook account?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you can just go in after, just like you normally would, and you can
Okay.
you can look up Cultivating Voices Live. I'll put something in the chat to you as well.
Okay.
Directions about how to do that. It's really it's not tedious. It's not too hard to do. So, but yeah, I'm happy to share how to do that.
Okay. Thank
You're
you.
live. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, good evening, bienvenidos all. This is Sandy Yannone, your host of Cultivating Voices Live Poetry for our 32nd week continuously, bringing you poetry during these pandemic times. I am so pleased to be with this intrepid group of nasty women poets for our Nasty Women anthology reading, the anthology of subversive verse from Lost Horse Press. Just a few moments, I will be introducing you to the ringmaster mistresses of this reading, who will be hosting today. And after that, I will also, they will be introducing all the readers. Just a few words before I do that. I want to share with you why I'm so absolutely thrilled that we're here today with this fabulous reading. As you all know, those of you who, I think everyone worldwide knows, the elections in the US are coming up on Tuesday. There is quite a lot of concern and anxiety and some hopefulness. And I don't usually talk about my individual politics, but I feel a little compelled today to say that it is my absolute hope that that we will see a change in administration, and for so many reasons, and that this group in particular, to me, this reading is so emblematic of, it's the perfect reading to have before the elections. It is a group of really strong women who have much to say and share, and they remind me of another group of nasty women from the turn of the last century, who worked to establish suffrage for some women, got the vote in 1920. It wouldn't be all women getting the vote until, believe it or not, into the 60s. And I would add, there is still voter suppression and disenfranchisement going on now. But these women were the first ever to protest in front of the White House. This is a photograph from January 1917. They went every day for years, and they were arrested, imprisoned, and some were force-fed which to me means they were political prisoners for trying to get women the vote. So it seems more than appropriate today to have, in 2020, another group of strong, nasty women raising their voices as we move toward the election on Tuesday, which of course has worldwide consequences. I've been saying every week for about the past month that please make sure those of you in the US who can vote, vote, because your vote needs to be counted, and literally the world is counting on us, to take care of business. So without further ado, I am so honored and thrilled to welcome our co-hosts for today's reading, and then I'll get out of the background. I'll go into the background and come back at the end of the reading. But I'm so thrilled to be welcoming Christine Holbert, editor of Lost Horse Press, who of course was with us just last month with the Raising Lily Ledbetter Women in the Workplace reading, and one of the editors of Nasty Women, the anthology of subversive verse, Julie Kane. Thank you so much, and I'm so looking forward to today's reading.
Thank you so much, Sandy, and thank you for letting us use your fabulous platform, which is just the best audience possible for this very meaningful reading for us. I'm Julie. I'm the co-editor of Nasty Women Poets, along with Grace Bauer. Grace had a schedule conflict that took her out of town today, so I'm representing both of us here. And as some of you know, our anthology was originally planned to be a celebration of our country's first woman president. Grace and I had plans to put out the call for submissions right after all the votes were counted on Election Day 2016. And then as now, we were going to call it the Nasty Women Poets Anthology. And we were going to take back that term nasty woman that had been used as an insult during the campaign and reclaim it with pride. Well, you know how that election turned out. And the day afterward, Grace and I assumed that our anthology just was not to be. But our publisher at Lost Horse Press, Christine, whose feisty Ukrainian mother survived many horrors of 20th century world politics, convinced us that it was even more important now to get our anthology out into the world. So we went ahead with this call for submissions, which I'll read from our book. Now is the time for all nasty women poets to come to the aid of their country. We are seeking poems from women who proudly celebrate their own nastiness and that of other women who have served as nasty role models. We want poems by and about women defying limitations and ladylike expectations, women refusing to be nice girls, women embracing their inner bitch when the situation demands it, women being formidable and funny, women speaking to power and singing for the good of their souls, women being strong, sexy, strident, super smart, and stupendous, women who want to encourage little girls to keep dreaming. If you are a woman who refuses to submit, we want to read your submission. And then with a very brief submissions window from Election Day 2016 to Inauguration Day 2017, we still managed to get over 500 terrific submissions. And we had a lot of trouble winnowing them down to the ones in our book. Grace and I worked like crazy to try to get the book edited and out in time for fall 2017 publication. We kept worrying that it might not be timely by the time it came out. And then we get even more worried. We say, oh God, what if it is still timely when it comes out? And here it is, almost 4 years later, and it's still timely, even though we hope and pray that its political timeliness will come to an end on Wednesday of this week, while its literary value, of course, endures forever. When the anthology came out, groups of contributors all around the country, many of them here, and even in Europe, held book launch readings for it in their home regions. We had really fun off-site readings for it 2 years in a row, at AWP. And today we've lined up 20 of our contributors to read for you in what may be our last group event, Nasty Women Poets, Still Nasty After 4 Long Years. And I think next, Christine, our publisher, is going to give us a welcome message before we start with our readers.
Thank you, Julie. I just want to thank Sandy and her sister Beth and Dawn for their work behind the scenes and helping us put this together. I had a book launch reading about a week ago. We have the new fall 2020 books coming out, and believe me, it is not easy to orchestrate one of these readings, especially if we're in the Zoom room and the reading is happening live on Facebook. So thank you so much for all the technical help and for inviting us to be part of your program, Sandy. It's just great. And thank you, Julie, and the other poets for agreeing to read again. I'm disappointed too that after 3 or 4 years that we still have to revisit this. But I'm very glad that we have the book and that we have all a voice to express and are able to express how we feel about this. So I'm going to end with please vote. Please get everyone you know to go out to the polls and vote. We have to overturn what is happening in our country. We can't go on like this. So thank you very much for the reading today. And thank you for the audience for coming and taking time out of your day to listen to this. The book is available on my website is back. I had a little trouble with the Lost Horse Press website for the past 2 weeks, but it is back. So you can order books on Lost Horse Press website. You can also order them through our distributor, the University of Washington Press, who is, when they learned about my problem, offered a 30% discount. So I suggest you go there and order the book. You'll get a big discount if you don't already have it. And thank you very much for coming, and let's take it away.
Okay, we have 20 readers today. I'm going to introduce the first 10, and then Christine's going to introduce the second group of 10. And what I'll do is read the short bio from the anthology, which is now a little bit, out of date. And then our reader will have a sentence or two in which to update it with the latest publication or news and read her poem. We're going to go in alphabetical order, except we're going to start with Leslea Newman because she's going to have to duck out a little bit early. Leslea Newman is the author of the poetry collections I Carry My Mother and October Morning, a song from Matthew Shepard, the story collection A Letter to Harvey Milk, and the groundbreaking children's books Sparkle Boy, A Fire Engine for Ruthie, The Boy Who Cried Fabulous, and Heather Has Two Mommies. Please welcome Leslea Newman.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here and thrilled to be nasty among the nasties. And to update, I'm very happy that I have a new poetry book. This is the ARC coming out in January called I Wish My Father. And it is a companion to I Carry My Mother. So now my parents are a boxed set. And my poem that is from the anthology is also in my book, Lovely. So I will read it, and it was definitely influenced by the title of the anthology. The Coming Storm. Outside, sheets of rain. Inside, sheets of satin. Outside, pounding sleet. Inside, pounding hearts. Outside, temperatures fall. Inside, temperatures rise. Outside, bare branches. Inside, naked limbs. Outside, shivering with cold. Inside, quivering with heat. Outside, slick roads. Inside, slick skin. Outside, heavy snow. inside, heavy breathing. Outside, slippery sidewalks. Inside, slippery fingers. Outside, glistening fields. Inside, glistening bodies. Outside, howl of wind. Inside, howl of joy. Outside, nasty weather. Inside, nasty women. Thank you.
Great beginning. And next up is going to be Nordette N. Adams of New Orleans, Louisiana. She has an MFA in creative writing from the University of New Orleans, as well as an MA in English. And she accepts some praise and blame for the OED removing a rabid feminist as its top usage example for the adjective rabid. Nordette?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here. And to add my message about the upcoming election, I just hope that we can live up to our ideals and not resort to violence no matter who wins the election. I'm pretty sure it'll be contested, whoever wins. So I'm also the poetry editor of the Podunk Review, and I have poems on a Wednesday night anthology from the Creative Writing Workshop at the University of New Orleans, and a poem not so long ago in Scalawag magazine. I'm going to read Digital Anthropologist, Find Our Hashtags. This poem was originally published in 2016 in Rattles Poets Respond. Digital Anthropologist, Find Our Hashtags. Dear hashtag Alton Sterling, your face reminds me of my brother, my son, my older cousin, Van, my first boyfriend, the only one who ever asked me to a dance. No golden grill, but he was kind. Still, hashtag this again. At POTUS Facebook today, these fatal shootings are not isolated. Retweet, hashtag Baton Rouge. Retweet, hashtag Falcon Heights. Dear hashtag Philando Castile, after 4 gunshots, your girlfriend asked, "Where's my daughter? Where is my daughter?" while recording Keep Your Hands Up, hashtag for a busted tail light like hashtag Walter Scott. Hashtag this again. Broken heart emoji. Wild face emoji. Angry face emoji. Facebook. I wish Obama was a magic Negro. In his last 6 months, he could wave his hand and hashtag make it stop. At Black Twitter Guru. Drake is awake. He is concerned now about his own family even. Hashtag we see you, bro. Dear hashtag Alton Sterling, I am sorry that I haven't done enough. Don't want to hear more stories. Can't remember all the names. Twitter, advice for allies. If you want to help, do. And do not ask a Black person how to fix white supremacists or these murders. Dear hashtag Trayvon Martin. At BBC is retweeting Beyonce today. We are sick and tired. They report that a Black woman protesting at the mic in Baton Rouge asked, "How many of you really wish you were white?" They said, "Remarkable." At randomly comfortable. Say no to trial by media, no to Black paranoia, hashtag be colorblind. Wait for the facts, for the facts. Dear hashtag Jordan Davis, today is like dear hashtag Jonathan Farrell. I have a question. Dear hashtag Michael Brown, dear hashtag Trayvon Martin, dear hashtag Tamir Rice, you were so young, and dear hashtag Sandra Bland, if only the dear hashtag Mother Emanuel AME, I will remember, dear hashtag Namali Henry and hashtag Freddie Gray. I believe that dear hashtag I can't breathe, AKA hashtag Eric Garner. I am sorry because more names. Thank you.
Oh. Our next reader is Desiree Aguirre. She lives in Idaho and she belongs to a women's writing group that inspires her, has a blog for bereaved parents, and writes for Idaho Magazine. A singer-songwriter, she plays in the string band Roughshod. When she's not writing or playing music, she rides her horse into the mountains.
Thank you. I wrote this poem the day after the last election. It was a day very similar today with brilliant blue skies, no breeze. I was watching my horses play outside and my daughter called in tears, sobbing. I wrote this for my daughter, Danae Maria. It's called Dancing Horses. The election passed like golden leaves falling. The world didn't stop, although the peso crashed. But horses continued to elegantly dance before winter snow. In early times, horses danced graceful as snow. In reality, they were trained as weapons of war. But modern warfare drops bombs that fly faster than golden leaves falling. I tell myself that 4 years of the trumpet shall pass, that I will not hide in the dungeon or shake with fear, that I will be as strong and resilient as a horse dancing before winter's snow. My daughter calls in tears, walking to work, an ordinary day made quite unordinary. With wishy-washy blue skies, but not one golden leaf falling. We will be nasty women, I tell her. We will stand together and sing in glorious harmony. We will sit side by side on painted horses, dancing in winter snow. We will don colorful clothes and mismatched socks and braid golden fall leaves into our hair. Our tears will unfurl, creating a blanket of white snow for dancing horses. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Our next reader is Melissa Balmain. She's the editor of Light, a journal of comic verse, and her poetry collection, Walking In on People, which won the Able Muse Book Award, gets nasty on subjects ranging from bras to boyfriends to parenthood, and prunes. It's also hilarious if you have not yet read it. Melissa?
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for that introduction, which is approximately 3 times as long as the poem that I will be reading. So here we go. Dorothy Parker's ghost weighs in on the new political climate. Men get free passes for grabbing girls' asses. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Judith Barrington. Judith has published 4 poetry collections, most recently then, The Conversation from Salmon Poetry. In the 70s, she lived in London and was part of the movement as a staff person for the Women's Liberation Workshop. As a nasty woman, she defaced posters and indulged in property damage, as well as demonstrations and marches. Judith?
Thank you. Thanks so much for all of you who put this on. And I'm sure it's a complicated operation, but I'm happy to be part of it. I hope that they're not going to come after me now that you've told them what I did so many years ago. I was originally British. Luckily, I've been an American citizen for long enough that I now get to vote. But this poem that I'm going to read that was in the book is from those days back in London. And I want to say, just as by way of introduction, that just recently I came across a movie called Misbehavior that I found. I think it's on YouTube, but it certainly was on I don't know, one of the places I get free movies. It's a brilliant movie, and it's all about the first piece of nastiness that women did in London in 1970 when they disrupted the Miss World show. And when the host, Bob Hope, was telling sexist jokes, they threw flour all over. They stood up in the audience and threw flour all over the stage. And it was the first, really the first thing that put the women's liberation movement out in the public eye. So I just want to say that if you get a chance to look that up, it's a really good movie. It's got Keira Knightley as the leading nasty woman. So that's a good one. Here's my poem. Cavalcade, 1974. Arm in arm, 5 abreast, boots synchronized in a slow march, our broad beams or sleek keels sway in blue denim as we pause 1 second before each step under the shade cast by the banner that snaps and sways overhead. Canvas stretching taut, then collapsing loose. The red painted slogan jumbled and mumbling until the breeze balloons it out again. Women in suits lean from 10th floor offices. Some mutter and shrug, while others call out, drowned by drums and chants. 2468 megaphones. What do we want? Police sirens. When do we want it? Shrill greetings. Right now. While sidewalk runners lap the unwieldy caterpillar with its million legs, its body hunching and thrusting inch by inch towards our imagined world. Anytime, any day now, we'll rise from solid ground and advance like gorgeous horses, our great hoofs stamping, slender legs dancing, splayed nostrils broadcasting frothy, grass-stained memories of the wild. Thank you.
Beautiful. Our next reader is DeMisty Bellinger, and she teaches creative writing, women's studies, and African American studies at Fitchburg State University. Her writing has appeared many places, including The Rumpus, Necessary Fiction, and Forklift, Ohio, Her chapbook, Rubbing Elbows, is available from Finishing Line Press. She lives in Massachusetts with her husband and twin daughters. And DeMisty?
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me. It's exciting to be here. This is a way to calm down with the election that's coming, and it's going to be a happy day, right? It's going to be great. We'll see. This is called Pussy Willow. This common shrubbery's male form has a woolly catkin. A catkin is the flowering spike, typically downy, pendulous. You prefer fuzzy to woolly, but sure, woolly. Catkin roots are Dutch. It means something like kitten. Woolly or fuzzy, downy, pendulous kitten. You know this plant. You see silk flowers or dried flowers or just the male form of this plant in a tall vase, and the plant is erect and pointing ever upward. You take your index finger and thumb of your left hand and absently stroke one of those little white woolly bulbs when talking to someone about anything else but catkin and fuzzy or woolly or kittens, and you close your eyes briefly, shudder slightly, feeling a little mischievous that the hairs of this plant tickle the pads of your fingers, and you're still talking about politics or anything else, and you grab this maleness of this shrubbery and feel some level of control. Thank you.
Wow. Has Tara Betts joined us yet? I don't see her little tile and didn't see her, little warm-up session. If she joins us, we'll put her later in the list. Okay. So our next reader then will be Carolyn Breedlove. Carolyn edited and annotated the book A Glorious Day, the Journal of a Central Louisiana Governess, 1853 to 1854. Her poems have appeared in Comstock Review, Wisconsin Review, New Millennium Writings, and the Maple Leaf Rag, among others. Finishing Line Press published her chapbook, Just Following the River. She was then currently finishing a novel, which she is now, I believe, finished. And please welcome Carolyn.
Thank you, Julie. So why a poem about Iran? Someone might ask. Why a poem about a probably fraudulent election? Why a poem about resistance and opposition, not just in lip service, but with your body, when you know the odds and you know very well what the price might be. So my poem is called With You Always, Iran, 2009. The blood will be with you always. The smell and burn of the tear gas, the smoke of the fires in the streets, your chants, the shouting, the feel of the stones in your hand, how you ran, how the motorcycles charged among you till you learned to overpower even them, bring them down and burn them. Not just in dreams, but in the days, you will see how you held hands, locked arms, supported and carried, were carried, and the blood, and their eyes around you above the masks, the scarves, as they were beaten, as they were dragged away, determined, as they wept. Even when you close your eyes, you will see forever green and the red. You will remember it all. One day you will look in the mirror, startled that you are old, amazed at all the years gone, that you were gray, that you could be parent, grandparent to those who died while young, amazed you lived when any day then you might not have, amazed at what you all did, at your courage, your steadfastness, at the blood. Thank you.
Oh, I have chills from that. Our next reader is going to be Nicole Caruso Garcia, reading for the late Kim Bridgford, dear friend of many of us here. Kim was the director of Poetry by the Sea, a global conference. She was the editor of the journal Mezzo Cammin, an online formalist journal by women. And she was the founder of the Mezzo Cammin Women Poets Timeline Project, a database of women poets. She was known as America's first lady of form. She's dearly missed. And Nicole will read her poem. Nicole, who is her good friend, will read her poem today. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you for inviting me. Why Emily Dickinson would march on Washington. Unsuffocate, release before, because some things you leave home for, with more than jam, and you are ready, because sometimes a basket's heavy, because your dashes work, away, because you have a door, cachet, because you find you right to sow both life and death. You have to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. And next, we have Patricia Clark. Patricia learned about nasty women from her mother, Norma Collins Clark, and believes in political protest through words, action, and the ballot. Her most recent book is The Canopy. New work appears in Asheville Poetry Review and Plume, and it's forthcoming, or was forthcoming, in Prairie Schooner and Adirondack Review. She organized readings on January 21st, 2017 to protest the inauguration. Patricia?
Hi, thank you so much, Julie, and thank you to all of you. It's really heartening to join you. This is such a tense time, and I think it's going to be okay, but it's really tough at the moment, isn't it? I do have a new book that just came out in October, and I'm holding it up. It's called Self-Portrait with $1 Million, and recounts an incident, boy, I'm showing my age, at the World's Fair in like 1963 in Seattle. And the poem that I'm going to read today, and I wish Grace Bauer could have been here, I miss her. You know, I think it's important with language. I guess I must have been a little insulted as a young girl to be called a tomboy. But frankly, you know you're getting more mature when you're really proud of an insult. You're really proud and you embrace it. And you just say, yeah, that's me, all right. So this is tomboys. A word for girls who climbed trees, who shinnied up the rough bark, not caring about skinned elbows and knees, who rode too fast on bicycles down alleys rutted with gravel. They refused to come in from the dark to their names called in a litany of names by mothers standing almost forlorn in lighted doorways. I overheard grandmother use the word for me. Was it that year or earlier when I'd stood summer tanned and ragged, slicking back my hair in the bathroom, imagining my face as a boy's? Steve Kirby, Jimmy Georgia, Gregory Federighi. In 1961 in Tacoma, what did I know of sexual politics? Grandmother was telling mother I was disgraceful, a renegade. She recommended dresses, knitting, less time with father, less time outdoors. And then at school, Sister Gabriel's words scalded my face. Sit like a lady, she hissed. And I tried to, knees together, not knowing what I'd done wrong. Why were the women so angry? I've gone back more than once to the school and the playground, now predictably cramped and small. Like a refugee in a war-torn country, I escaped without a glance back, taking only what I could grip in my hands or remember. Thanks.
Oh, wow. And our next reader is Annie Finch. Annie's most recent book, Then, was Spells from Wesleyan. She had just completed a new prose book, The Witch in You, 5 Directions to Your Inner Goddess, perfect for All Saints Day today. And she's editing an anthology on abortion, which is now out, Choice Words. She teaches in the low residency MFA program at St. Francis College in Brooklyn. And Annie?
Hello, I am so glad to be here and being nasty. I have a couple of updates. For one thing, I have just moved to Portugal, so I'm in Portugal now. So that's amazing. And then the book did come out. The Choice Words Anthology, Writers on Abortion, came out. And also a little book called The Poetry Witch, Little Book of Spells. And actually tomorrow is the deadline for the manuscript of that Witch in You book. So I have to dash off pretty soon after. Anyway, it's so nice to be able to join you all and to remember these nasty, nasty strengths and exciting powers that we have, and to do it tonight of all nights on the full moon, All Saints Day, and just before the election. So nasty is as nasty does, and I'm being really nasty. Here is Binding Spell. He who mocks a woman's mind will be ruined by the wind. He who abuses a woman's body, Mother Earth won't feed nor bury. He who hurts a woman's heart rots where tears and oceans start. He who wastes a woman's will burns till no more flames can kill. And he who shames a woman's spirit sours the mother's womb within it. His mother's womb. I think I'm going to change that. So I wanted to make one more announcement, if I could, which is that, because I forgot to say it before, I started an online community for women poets, and it's kind of grew out of the WOMPO listserv that I started before. It's called Poet and Priestess, and I'll put the URL in the chat. So thank you, Julie. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Lost Horse. And thank you for everyone who's reading. Really great to be part of this.
Thank you, Annie. And now I think Christine is going to take over the introductions for the last group of readers. Christine?
I'm here, and I'm going to introduce Twyla Hansen. Twyla believes in free speech. She also believes that speech and actions to undermine the rights of women and other marginalized people must be consistently called out for what they are: power, domination play, bullying, suppressing freedoms. Together, enlightened people can do this. Resist, wake up, get involved, vote. Please welcome Twyla.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for the organizers of this reading and the editors of the book and the publisher. Everything is so wonderful about this book. I had fun writing my poem. I wrote it especially for this anthology, and anyway, it's called Bad Hair Day. I'm having a bad hair day. Actually, it's more like several bad hair months. Linda cuts my hair in her home. She used to be my son's family stylist and my daughter-in-law's family stylist before that. Where else could I mump on about family history and politics? I get weepy thinking of the Clinton years when my granddaughters were little. I do not recall bad hair days back then. Since I've been seeing Linda, we've jumped from good to W, back to good, and now on to the very worst kind of chump. I've had bad haircuts before, like when my brother chopped it, then dumped it all on me during the Ike era. Cold War bump up, nuclear warheads humping toward Omaha. Will we again pump up for another standoff? Linda likes to fuss with my hair after a trim, clump on layers of product, plump it into soft curls. Says it makes me look more professional. Me, I just don't want to look like a frump. I hate spending hours in front of the mirror. I blame it all on Trump. My last appointment was before the election, but I didn't notice the unevenness until after. I mean, we grumped in disbelief at the outrageous things he'd said. Loser POWs and dead soldiers, murder and rapist Mexicans, nasty women, and mocking the disabled. The more we thumped, the faster she worked those scissors. And talk about bad hair, that orange mop we just can't believe is not the finest fake a billionaire can buy. Which leads me back to my woefully lopsided and lump layered locks, slowly growing out. The difference between a good haircut and a bad one is about 6 weeks, my husband used to say, before he went semi-bald. Trouble is, I'm stumped. I've fallen and can't get up from this huge slump. Mine will take more like 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Twyla. Our next reader is Allison Joseph, who lives in Carbondale, Illinois, where she teaches at Southern Illinois University. Her books include Mercurial from Mayapple Press, Mortal Rewards from White Violet Press, Multitudes from Word Poetry, The Purpose of Hands, Glass Lyre Press, Double Identity, Singing Bone Press, and What Once You Loved by Barefoot Muse Press. So please welcome Allison Joseph.
Hi, everyone. Since the publication of this great anthology, I've published several more books, most notably Smart Pretender with Finishing Line, The Last Human Heart with Diode, Confessions of a Barefaced Woman with Red Hen, and my next book will be Lexicon, also with Red Hen. I'm also the founding editor of No Chair Press, which is a press that publishes women who write in formal verse. So my poem is called Declaration. And the main thing about it is nasty women like to set their own terms and make their own words up. So you will find several invented words in this poem. Declaration. From now on, I will not answer to my name, but only to the title, Your Feminence. An acknowledgement, finally, of how spectacularly flowdacious I am. I am no shinoceros clad in gaudy jewelry and tight clothes, no half-dressed woman waiting on you in a chesterant, bringing you hope on a plate of chicken wings. Let other women be wedheads, obsessing over white lace curtains worn as veils, fretting over a dress too useless to wear but for one day out of my flabulous life. I'd much rather you call me Sassenger, woman who rides along, but does not follow. Fellow traveler who points out all the curvy signs you ignore. Thanks.
Thank you. And our next reader is Julie Kane, who is the editor of the anthology, one of the editors, and is the first female George Bennett Fellow in Writing at newly co-ed Phillips Exeter Academy in the 1970s. Julie Kane got mighty tired of hearing fellow jokes. Fast forward 4 decades, and it looks like deja vu all over again. A past National Poetry Series winner, Fulbright Scholar, and Poet Laureate of Louisiana, she has published 4 books and 2 chapbooks of poetry, including Rhythm and Booze and Paper Bullets. So let's please welcome Julie Kane as our next reader.
Thank you, Christine. My new book is Mothers of Ireland, just out this year from LSU Press. Grace and I decided that we were going to take the high road and leave ourselves out of the anthology. We were also kind of terrified that Christine might kill us because we'd already gone so far over our original page limit in the anthology. But I didn't want to miss taking part in this reading today. So I'm going to read a duplex, that really cool new form invented by Jericho Brown, and it's called Mint Chip. I will not write a pandemic poem. I'll fix another bowl of mint chip ice cream. I've gained 11 pounds on mint chip ice cream. Nobody sees my body, so it doesn't count. The last man on earth to see my body lied to me about voting for Trump. Trump voters think the virus is a hoax. I no longer want him to touch my body. Yoga pants barely touch the body. Is anyone on Zoom even wearing pants? No Trumpster is going to get into these panties. Let's make America Puritan again. I hear America's ventilators panting. DJ Trump's beatbox for pandemic poems. Thanks.
Yep, Christine needs to unmute, please.
All right, sorry about that. Jenna Lê, the daughter of Vietnamese refugees, lives and works as a physician and educator in New Hampshire. She is the author of 2 poetry collections, 6 Rivers, and a history of the cetacean American diaspora. So please welcome Jenna Lê.
Thanks so much. A couple updates. I'm now based in New York City. I loved my time in New Hampshire, but I've since moved. And my book, A History of Cetacean American Diaspora, has a relatively new publisher. It's currently being published by Indolent Books. And my poem in the anthology is titled On the Lesser Known Uses of Meat Tenderizer. Once I began to menstruate at 13, I rapidly became an expert at expunging blood stains from pajamas, jeans, dresses, bed sheets, upholstery, even mats and rugs. I'm ready for a life of crime now, armed with skills ideally suited for a career of carving finger-deep red lines in victims' throats, disposing of their cars in forested ravines. You need to learn the art of covering your tracks before making tracks. You must master how to burn love letters prior to allowing your mind to love. And you must know how to strike the backspace key before you learn to write. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenna. Our next reader is Jennifer Perrine, who is the author of 3 books of poetry, No Confession, No Mass, In the Human Zoo, and The Body is No Machine. Recent awards include the 2016 Publishing Triangle Audre Lorde Award and the 2015 Bisexual Book Award for Poetry and the 2014 Prairie Schooner Book Prize in Poetry. So please welcome Jennifer Perrine.
Thank you. It's good to see all these familiar faces, and also for those of you I haven't met yet, it's great to virtually meet you and get to connect your face with your poems. I do have a new book out as well. It just came out 2 months ago. It's called Again, and it was written in the aftermath of the Trump election. And each poem in the book takes as its title a word that Trump has misused or overused. I did not use the word nasty because I figured we had already reclaimed that one. So it's reclaiming all the other ones that need to be reclaimed. My poem from the anthology is Letter to Half a Lifetime Ago. Dear girl waiting outside, alone, just tossed out of your parents' house, I offer this age's adage. It gets better. Sometimes it does. Other people's mothers will take you in, admit the sins to leave a kid on the streets, but they'll turn too when they find your fingers twined in their daughter's hair. You'll seek bars where you don't get carded, linger under the beneficent reign of queens who bring you to diners in the wee hours, make sure you eat. You'll play pool with butches who teach you to flick your lighter open, chivalrous, although you don't smoke, how to shave your head when barbers won't, what to do when men eye you in a parking lot, hurl insults, then rocks. You'll learn the exact size of bruise left by a fist, the shape of the girl who lifts you, carries you to her car, her home, lets you sleep while she cooks you eggs and toast. She'll lend you book after book, whole pages underlined, where you glimpse worlds of two women together, fictions where they do what they please with their lives, and still they survive. When she declares you just a friend, you'll write your gloom and grief, won't cry. You'll drink until your mind's scrubbed clean, then test sobriety at clubs where you press sweat to bass and drums. You'll wear studded leather, white tanks, black boots, signals that say both fuck off and come here. You'll fall gobsmacked, and they'll fall too. Broken beauties, motorcycle chicks, punk princesses, gyno anarchists. Each time you'll buzz with kisses you wish wouldn't stop, embraces in the midst of busy sidewalks, bustle around you forgotten. Each will leave you waiting, cast off, alone again, but now knowing this isn't the end, that you'll see your way through with one long, steady stride, and the next one, and the next.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our next reader is Valentine Pierce, artist and artisan, who's always carving tree branches and stones to release poetry, writing, graphic design, sewing, and crafting from their grasp. Her piece, The Fabric of Our Lives, was recently published in Mending for Memory, Sewing in Louisiana, Essays, Stories, and Poems. Let's please welcome Valentine Pierce.
Hello, everyone. I can't believe I wrote that for my, but I am always crafting, see. That's the storm thing, embroidery. Okay, my poem is Handmaiden. I see it, but don't believe it. This bloodletting, this certain cruelty, disguised as self-expression, as freedom of speech, of liberty, the pursuit, undaunted by the blood, the split flesh, the screams. You live in your self-sphere, and pretend it encompasses us all. Pretend that you love and mean well when you are just mean. Flat out, cruel and thoughtless. Thought I was blind to it. No, merely trying to be a good handmaiden, a good spiritual daughter who abides her father's will and loves, despite, forgives relentlessly, stands strong, walks tall on the path, despite your narrow-mindedness, your I am greater than thou attitude that you pretend does not exist. But even good handmaidens know when the demon has control. Good handmaidens know when to throw in the towel and run like hell to the next village.
Thank you, Valentine. The next reader will be Hilda Raz. Hilda Raz has published 12 books of poems, essays, and criticism, as well as a memoir with Aaron Raz Link. She is editor of the Mary Burritt Christensen Poetry Series for the University of New Mexico Press, poetry editor for Bosque, and founding editor of the Prairie Schooner Book Prize. Please welcome Hilda Raz.
Thank you so much, Christine. I'm so delighted to be here. And Julie and Grace Bauer, who is my colleague at the University of Nebraska for a very long time. My new book is called List and Story, and it is available online everywhere and from your local booksellers. Please buy it through your local booksellers. Read it. I'm so happy to be here. Okay, this poem that I wrote is set in, believe it or not, 1955, when we wore our father's shirts. Think that's important? I did. I probably wrote the poem in the mid-'80s, and here it is, Women's Lib. Women turned their loyalties from their father's clothes, huge discarded shirts. They had been missing. All night dreaming the map of the future, their subjects had been the artist at work in a room under the stable. It is vital to pull yourself up by your own roots. We were making love in the weeds, slamming the dahlias flat, milkweed swollen, then bursting. Outside, birds. Mostly the television is on, but we don't notice. We went to the movies. Someone in the back row touched my arm, let them eat cake. And then I got angry. Feathery trees embroidered on batiste, old clothes in a poetic mode passed out of fashion. Blessed be the womb, put to use or not. Now, dance.
Thank you, Hilda. Our next reader is Pat Gallagher Sassone. She's a poet and novelist. Her YA novel, Hanging in the Stars, has been a hit with high school students. She's spent a lifetime in the company of many astounding women whose hard work has been underpaid and overlooked. Why would anyone be nasty? Please welcome Pat Gallagher Sassone. Is Pat here?
Yep, you need to just unmute.
Hello, can you hear us?
There you go. Yep, you're good.
All right, thank you so much. Well, even though I had a little difficulty voicing myself
at this moment, I am very proud to be part of this afternoon's reading with so many powerful voices. The poem that I'm going to read is What's That Sound? In factories, offices, and stores, the echo of a 240-year-old American history. Working women craning from the bottom, sliding to the middle, competing near the top. That glass ceiling is about to crash, the pinnacle of power in arm's reach of a woman. What's that silence? The moment of defeat, words inadequately describe. The mute chorus of American women wondering when, if ever.
Thank you, Pat. Our next reader, and this is our final reader, is Andy Young. Her poetry collection, All Night It Is Morning, was published in 2014 by Dialogos Press. She teaches at New Orleans Center for Creative Arts and is a writer for Heinemann Publishing. Her work has appeared recently in Voluble, One, and Story South. Let's please welcome Andy Young.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this. I'm especially honored to be reading on a day when we honor the dead, to be reading this poem. Woman Dancing on Her Son's Coffin, New Orleans, 1995. And this is from a black and white photograph at the House of Dance and Feathers, whose curator, Ronald Lewis, passed earlier this year due to COVID. She is not in black, not weeping, not leaning against someone as she staggers drunk with grief. No. She dances on top of her son's coffin, outside the Lafitte projects where he was gunned down. She dances and dances, unbending, limbs thrashing like Kali on Shiva's ashen body. Gray clothes, are they sweats? Sway in the sun-blasted noon. Her two living boys make music around her. D-boy gone. Who that killed D-boy? Who first told her the news? She can't. Some funneled shape his horn won't blow. No lace, no shawl across her shoulders. Bare-armed, back-cocked, ass out, she dances, yes. Another thud of percussion. No, she grunts, pushing him out, ripping open at charity, fluorescent lights backlighting his arched shape. Bright slash of the trumpet. He burns with fever, laughs at ice, tracing the pouting lips. Late July, night blooming jasmine thick in the mouth. I grab another sliver, slap of snare. No, she does. It's her boy, a number now, pushing up the murder graph like a thermometer. Oh, mama, mama. Men hauling the casket, bend at the knees, not from weight, but from bass thump, from tuba's fat momentum. Her sweats shift soft and loose as they play it loose and mean, a threat in the throb, the trombone moan. She's gone, past shiver, past flash of brass glint and casket shine underneath her feet. She shakes her head, look, she's turning to look into everyone's face. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, all the readers, for these very powerful poems. As I was listening, it struck me that, you know, the anthology is quite a brick of a book. It's a long book, but it's packed with poem after poem that are just as powerful as the ones we've heard this afternoon. And I want to thank every one of you for joining us today to share them once again with the world. Julie?
Thank you so much to all our readers, to Sandy, for hosting us, Christine, Dan for technical support, and our viewers who are taking time to watch and hear this reading. I know many of us are really worried about how we're going to get through this week, and this reading has given me courage and inspiration and hope, and I hope you feel the same as I do. Thank you.
Well, everyone, all of you who've been watching Cultivating Voices live poetry, we've been hearing the poets from Nasty Women Poets, an anthology of subversive verse, edited by Julie Kane, who's been with us today, and Grace Bauer from publisher Lost Horse Press, and Christine Holbert, who's been our co-host today. What a parade of readers, what a parade of poets we heard from this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever, whatever time zone you are in. Your poems said everything that we've always needed to hear and will continue to need to hear to inspire all of us to move forward with grace and humanity and a sense of justice. We know all too well that women have been at the forefront of oppressions, and there's many intersections that go along with that around class and race and sexual orientation and other ways that intersects with gender identities. Again, the words that we heard today are evidence of that our voices truly do connect to life and death through history and into the future. This anthology reading couldn't have come at a better time. I want to remind everyone out there who's listening today that we generously have a discount to purchase the anthology. The University of Washington Press, who's the distributor for Lost Horse Press, the publisher, is offering a 30% discount on this astounding anthology that holds up through the test of time. I mean, we've heard these poems that were written in 2016, and they couldn't have resonated more today on the eve of the 2020 election. I want to remind all of you to, of course, please, 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 please vote as if your lives depended on it, because they do, and so many other lives depend on it, not just in the US, but honestly, worldwide. Well, folks, for those of you who are not familiar, we are Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, a poetry group that participates all the time on Facebook. And we have a weekly reading, whether a special event as we've had today, or one of our live open mics, and or new books showcase. Every Sunday, we've been doing this for 32 weeks. We started in March at the end of the pandemic. And next week, we will be hosting a special post-election live open mic. Anyone is welcome to sign up to read. So this will not be our traditional open mic where we have just 8 readers reading. Anyone can read for up to 3 to 5 minutes to respond to the elections And that is not exclusive to folks from the United States. We would love to hear from anyone in the world who would like to share their words in the post-election, regardless of the outcome, or if we have an outcome by next week. I want to also encourage and welcome you to join us on November 15th for our new books showcase. That will be featuring 4 incredible poets, including our much beloved Hilda Raz, who's with us today, whom you've heard read, Susan Eisenberg, Betsy Scholl, and Leslie Ullman. That will be on November 15th. And at the end of the month, another new book showcase with Don Krieger, who's our astounding support guru here at Cultivating Voices. We couldn't do it without Don. I want to give a shout out to him. Don will be reading from his new book, Discovery, with Jan Beatty and Lauren Russell. It's a group of Pennsylvania poets, but they are powerful, powerful poets. And regardless of where they live, they all just happen to live in Pennsylvania. That'll be on November 29th. So a lot of poetry ahead here in Cultivating Voices, live poetry for this month of November. Again, I'm so grateful to each and every one of you who has joined us today. The poets, the support, the tech support, including Don and Elizabeth Ann. Again, Julie Kane, editor of the Nasty Women Poets Anthology, and Christine Holbert from Lost Horse Press. We couldn't do it without you. It's great to start our month off with Nasty Women, The Uprising, and a reminder from those suffragists who said, Mr. President, how long must women wait for liberty? I hope it won't be much longer. This is Sandy Yannone for Cultivating Voices live poetry. Thank you all. Please, please vote. And as I always say, take good care of yourselves, particularly this upcoming week. We know there's a lot that we do not know. Take good care, keep safe, wear your mask, and look at what happens when we keep writing. Be well, everyone.